Anamika age, Anishina Bemowen, Ojibi Gewin. Makadenim Keen Indijnikas, Nipasing Dunjaba, Gibwana Sin in Dodem, Marawachagain in Indal, Minawadash Anishina Bemowen Kinamagain in Indal. Welcome to Anishina Bemowen Writing. My name is Don Pucci. I'm a member of Nipissing First Nation, and I've been a language teacher for the last 15 to 17 years now. And today, what I'd like to work on with everybody is the basics of understanding Ojibwe syllabics. Some people call them Cree syllabics. Really, they're just syllabics. They work for any language at all. What I want to show you today is just the very basic, the very basic fundamental usage of syllabics so that you can understand it. And knowing how to read and write in syllabics is very helpful for people learning the language. It really helps people understand the language. And reading and writing in syllabics is very useful. It puts, especially Native people who want to learn their language or learn more about their language, it really develops a good frame of mind for studying the language. Syllabics work very well with the Fierro writing system, and that's what I'll be using in other lessons that I'll be posting later on into the future. So let's begin. And what I want to show you first is the four main vowels of writing in Ojibwe. And they are E. Now what you see is E, I've written on the board, but it's never pronounced E, it's always pronounced E in this style of writing. Okay, now the next vowel is E. And for that sound, we use an I. So there's a long and a short I. The short I is just one I, and the long E is two I's. So it's I, E. So E. Okay. The next vowel is O. Again, short and long. O. Okay, so we have E, O, and finally, A. The small A and two A's is A. And that's like if you go to the doctor and he puts a stick in your mouth and says, say A, that's how A is always pronounced, A. It's never pronounced A, it's always pronounced A. E is always A. That's the A sound. E, O, A. It's just that simple. And I know in English, Y is sometimes a vowel. In Ojibwe, it never is. It's always, Y is always a consonant. And you'll be seeing that as we get further along into this lesson. Okay, now, there's going to be finals for each of these. There's going to be Western finals. I'm just going to put a W for West and write finals. Final. And then I'm going to put E for Eastern finals. And I'll explain a little bit more of that later as we go along. And over on this side, I'm going to put the consonants. I'm just going to write consonant. I'm just going to write con for now, right? And the consonant, you'll see, is paired with all of these vowels, so that all of these symbols are going to have a consonant and a vowel sound in most cases, except the first case. It's not going to be, it'll be just a vowel sound on its own. And let's begin with that right now, okay? So let's start with the vowel, just the vowel sound by themselves. For that we use a triangle. The first triangle is going to be pointing downwards, and that's the sound A. The next triangle is pointing upwards, and that's E. The next triangle is going to be pointing to the right, or it's going to be pointing to the easterly direction, and that's O. And finally, this triangle is pointing to the westerly direction, and that's Ah. Now, before I go any further, I want to show you a little diagram of how that works. I'm going to draw a compass here, okay? And I'm going to put 4 arrows on that, or 4 triangles on that compass. And here we have A, E, O, and Ah. And that's the beauty of how this language works. It works in the 4 directions. And basically everything does in this style of writing. And that's the very wonderful thing about reading and writing in syllabics, is it gets you thinking in the 4 directions. Okay, now let's continue on. Thank you. I need something better to erase. Okay, now, the next, well, first of all, we're going to start just with finals over here. Now, these are just the vowel sounds by themselves. And just for the sake of keeping everything in a good place, the H final sound, now the H has nothing to do with these, right? But if you see this, H or glottal stop, okay? The Western final for H is like that, and it's the same in the East. H, okay? And that's like a glottal stop is like if we say, uh-oh. An example of that would be amit-iwe. It's like a little, and amit-iwe means something, right? Something that's alive, that's living, amit-iwe. And there is an example of a little glottal stop. Okay? Now, next we're going to, the next sound we're going to use is W, and to get that sound in this particular case, because W is sort of a wild card symbol. It's just a dot, but it can be attached to any symbol. And I'll show you more about that as the lesson goes on. Okay, and we're going to use the same vowels, only we're going to attach a dot to it. Now, in the West, they put the dot on the eastern side. In the East, they put the dot on the western side. You'll see it on either side. It's just when you let's say if you're looking at the Bible, for instance, that's translated into Ojibwe and into syllabics. Some of the books of that Bible will be written in Western style, and it'll have the dot on the east side. And some of the books of the Bible will be written with the dot on the other side. Okay, so but for now I like the West, and the Western dot goes on the eastern side. So we, wo, wa. And the final that we use is a little circle like this. And it's the same in the East as the West. Okay. So now that's basically just the vowel and the vowel with the consonant W attached. Now we begin with the first, and I'm using this the order I'm going in. You'll see lots of syllabic charts in a lot of different orders, but this order that I'm using now is, I found through experience, really works the way, is really the best organized method of getting of understanding syllabics. Okay, Now, for the first one, it's B and P. B and P are very similar consonants. We have to put our lips together, B, P, to make that sound. So they're used interchangeably. That's the thing about spelling in Ojibwe. It's very subjective. You could see some people say Debwe, some people say Tepwe. I've heard it sound, in just a very short. Actually, it just varies from speaker to speaker. You can say place to place, but really it's speaker to speaker. Some people prefer one consonant over another, and you see that in English too. People from different countries, they tend to substitute Z's for S's. You hear that all the time, and it doesn't make it any difficult. It doesn't make language more difficult to understand. It's very easy. Okay, so without digressing, here we go. Pe, P, Po, Pa. The Western final is a little line straight up and down. The Eastern final is very easy. It's just the A, only made smaller. Or I should say, made smaller. Oops, I made it in the wrong place. I'm not being very neat here. There we go. Okay, that should work. All right. All right. An example of how we use this final is, let's say, Kijep. That's the morning. Kijep. All right, now if I was to write that in syllabics, it would be Ki, Je, like that, or Kijep like that. All right? Everybody see that? So that's an example of how we use finals. Okay, now let's move on. The next consonant is D and T. D, T. It's very similar. And the first one will be De. Next one is D. Next one is Do. And finally Da. The final for D is our little line starts moving clockwise, in a clockwise position, and it's at somewhere at around 2 o'clock. And the Eastern final would be a small d in the position. Okay. An example of that could be get. Get. Or we could write get. That's how the final works. Now that's at the end of a word. You'll find that there are going to be times that we use finals in the middle of a word. And we're going to do that in other lessons. Not so much this lesson, but in other lessons to come. Okay, let's continue on. The next symbol is going to be G and K. G, K. G, G, Go, Ga. Western final, down around the 7, or 7, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere between 4 and 5. Exactly in between 4 and 5. On an angle like that, or a little ga. You gotta write it small. All right. Next one is CH or J. And it will look Che, Chi, Cho, sha. And the Western final is going to be a horizontal, little horizontal line or a little cha. Okay, the next one is going to be the letter M. Now, it doesn't have another consonant that it goes with. It just stands alone. Okay? And it follows the, you'll notice that this has a north, south, east, west pattern, but these next symbols they sort of go into a square kind of shape. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in other lessons. I'm not too sure we'll have time for today for this. Okay, now here we go. Me, mi, mo, ma. And we're going to use a little C or a little loop pointing to the west, or a little M like that. Ma. Okay, me, mi, mo, ma. Next one is N. You'll notice that these sort of follow the order of the alphabet, right? And that's what makes it easy to remember them this way. Ne, ni, no, na. And this time our loop points to the east, or we can make a little na. All right. Next is S and Z. Se, si, so, sa. Now the loop points upwards, and we have a little sa. Now this next one is tricky. It's SH or ZH. And we go she, she. Now it lies down, show, and lies down in the opposite direction, sha. The final pointing down, or a little sha. Now, the last one in this series, and I'm going to continue on, but just for now, the last one is going to be Y. Ye, ye, yo, ya. And the Western final is a little cross like that, an equal cross. It's not like a crucifix, it's equal, right? Like a plus sign. And the Eastern final is a little ya. Now, I used to use just this, I used to go to the Eastern final for this, and I was told by one of my new friends that this is a final that can be used for Y, and I wasn't really aware of that. And there really is no difference, it just means Y. Okay, it's a Y final. And there's only a few examples I can give, and I might be able to do that at another time. Yeah, we'll review that at another time. Okay, so this, what you see here, is all you need to speak Ojibwe. This, in the Great Lakes area, in the northern area, northern Great Lakes area, in the southern Great Lakes area, in the middle area, this type, and any dialect that does not have R and L in it, and that's most dialects of Ojibwe. Although there are some dialects of Cree and Ojibwe in Ontario that do use R and L, so we'll have to move forward. And I'm going to show you the rest of this after I look at this. Okay, so let's just go over these for now, and then I'm going to show you the rest of these symbols that we used for other other dialects in other languages as well. Okay. But before we do that, I just want to show you this dot, okay? That gives you a W sound, and if I put a dot beside be, it becomes bue, right? The W, you insert the W between the consonant and the vowel in the middle of the syllable. Okay, let's see. Bue. If I put it beside a K, it would be que. So I like to call that dot the W dot is the wild card. You can put it in almost anywhere. There are a few that it doesn't fit very well. I couldn't think of very many examples, but this is how it works, and you can use that with any of these symbols. Okay. So before I go on, I want to say this chart with everybody, and I want you to repeat after me. E, I, O, A, we, we, wo, wa, be, bi, bo, ba, te, ti, to, ta, ke, ki, ko, ka, che, chi, cho, cha, me, mi, mo, ma, ne, ni, no, na, se, si, so, sa, she, she, sho, sha, ye, yi, yo, ya. Now, if you did that, if you repeated all of those sounds after me, if you said all of that, then what you've effectively done is you've made every sound pretty much that's in the Ojibwe language. It's all there. Everything in most dialects of Ojibwe and some dialects of Cree is all here in this set of syllabics that was invented a long time ago, back in the mid 1800s, is when James Evans and the people that he worked with, Mr. Pittman and a few other people, devised these, and I'm sure that they had help from the native people that they were working with as well. Okay, so there's other dialects and there's other symbols, but these are basically the symbols that Mr. Evans first came out with, you know. And now I'm going to show you the rest of the symbols. Okay, the first one is L, and it looks like this: le, li, lo, la. And the Western final points to the left, le, and the Eastern final is just, like all things in the East, is just la. All right, next is R. And R looks like this: re, re, ro, ra. And the Western final looks like this. And the Eastern final looks like this. Okay, now with those two added on to all the other ones that I showed you, that would cover most of the Cree language and a lot of other northern languages, Inuktitut. But northern languages, they use these other symbols, and I'm going to show you right now. One is, the first one is oh, I'm sorry. I'm showing you the letter. I should be showing you the consonant. It's F, V, and PH, which is all sort of make a or sound. So we have the, the, tho, tha. And that's just like a B or P with a little loop attached to the one part of it there. Okay. Now, I just use a small Eastern final for those. I don't know if there's any others that are being used right now. And finally, TH. The, tho, tha, and likewise they use the same. And that's just as far as my knowledge goes. There might be other symbols there that I'm just not aware of. And so let's say these. Le, li, lo, la, re, re, ro, ra, fe, fi, fo, fa, the, tho, tha. And that's it for this lesson. Miigwech for watching, and keep your eyes and ears out. There'll be more lessons coming up sometime in the near future. Miigwech. Bama, Pim, and Wakwaman. Wewene.